El siguiente programa es patrocinado por Conceptos Group of Companies, Conceptos Construction, Expresa Marketing y La Grota Restaurante.
Hey guys, welcome to the After the Whistle show. I'm your host, Stefan Spiroff, alongside my co-host,
Francesco Lopresti.
And I'm Adam Morency.
It is March 5th, 2020, and thank you for joining us for the inaugural show of the After the Whistle show. We're going to have a great show for you guys today, so thanks for tuning in.
We're going to have a great show. We're going to talk about the Leafs, the Raptors, the Blue Jays, and some of the extracurricular stuff that we're looking to for sports. And it's going to be a great show, so we hope you guys tune in.
And at the end, we'll be wrapping it up with a fun game, or spelling bee rather. Stefan has apparently some of the hardest names in sports for Francesco and I to guess.
Interesting.
It'll be interesting. Yeah, we'll give it a shot.
We'll see how you guys do. So first of all, let's talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs, the biggest sports team in this market. So the Leafs have had an up and down season. We've talked about this off air a bunch of times. About last week, they played the Carolina Hurricanes in a game that everybody watched on Hockey Night in Canada. And they got spanked by emergency backup goalie. That's like kind of the best way to put it. They lost 5-2 to the Carolina Hurricanes. It was arguably the worst loss in franchise history, and Leafs Nation was pretty much in a riot. And yeah,
a riot is a good way to describe it.
Would you guys say that was the worst loss in franchise history?
100%. That is probably the most embarrassing, the worst loss that the Leafs have ever had. It's just a situation that you never imagine will happen, and that when it happens to your team, you're kind of just like in awe of it happening, and then all of a sudden, the events play out, and you're like, oh wow, this is actually really happening. And that game was a real wake up call, I feel, for the Leafs, because after that they went into 3-0, right? They had a nice little performance right there, but then unfortunately Tuesday night we lost to the San Jose Sharks, and that's just been the Leafs storyline this season. Is that we have great games, we have great stretches. But then in the end, we always just fall short and we take one step forward and then two back.
But, it'll be really interesting to see how the Leafs respond, though, because like you said, they did have those 3 good games in a row. And in those 3 games after that loss to Carolina, you saw a completely different team. There was way more attention to detail on their own end. And, even like the top line, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, the top players were playing like their top players, at least for 3 games. And then, they got away from it a little bit against the Sharks the other night on Tuesday. But it would be interesting to see over the next 2 games, because they are playing lesser teams. Tonight, they're in California to face the Los Angeles Kings, and then tomorrow in Anaheim. So these are lesser teams. The Leafs need these points, and it would be interesting to see whether they can pull it together. This will be a very telltale sign, especially with 15 games to go in the regular season. The Leafs have a huge opportunity here to really put away a playoff spot, especially considering the way Florida's been playing.
And just to go off of that too, last year at this point, right, when we had the California road trip, we swept all the teams. We went out there, we performed really well. So coming into this one, this is a big stretch for the Leafs. So going into it, I was hoping that they could pull out a sweep again, win all 3 games. But unfortunately, of course, we start off with a loss against the Sharks. So that kind of derailed everything. So now they have to win the next 2 games. It's a non-negotiable. And it's getting to the part of the season where the Leafs just have to perform. The top guys have to play like the top guys. Everyone has to get paid. Well, everyone is getting paid, but now they have to perform like the superstars they are. And against the Sharks, it was literally only the Matthews line that was performing. Right? They had literally maybe like 10 good chances in that game, and they capitalized on it. We got 2 goals.
But we also have to consider the injuries. And you got Riley and Ceci out, 2 of your... I know Ceci, obviously Ceci's not like a top defenseman.
But he's an NHL defenseman.
He's an NHL defenseman, and he's been, a defenseman that has been used a lot this season by the Leafs especially.
But as Leafs fans, you guys ever just get tired of talking about this? I feel like it's the same thing we talk about all the time.
Well, the defensive problems have been something we've been talking about for 6 years. Like, this isn't something that's just come up this year. The Leafs have been terrible, an absolute train wreck in their own zone for the last half decade. And this year, because of there's been a lot of turnover, Tyson Barrie was coming in, Cody Ceci. They got rid of Ron Hainsey last year, and Zaitsev. There was a lot of criticism for Zaitsev, but he was a rock I mean, not Zaitsev wasn't a rock, but Ron Hainsey. There was a lot of criticism for
Zaitsev was a rock in the complete aspect of he just stood there and was just slow.
He did nothing. But Ron Hainsey was a rock, and he was playing upwards of 25 minutes a night. And you take that away. He was a Stanley Cup champion too, not to mention.
All right. So the thing is that yes, injuries have played a part for the defense, and like we said, this has been a topic that we've become well known to as Leaf fans, that the defense is the problem. But it gets to a point where you cannot just keep making excuses anymore. Like, yes, the defense has been decimated with injuries. They haven't been performing, but this is something that's been going on for the whole season now. So hopefully, by this point, you get it together.
Yeah.
It's not just us in the league that suffers injuries. Everyone else has injuries as well, too. It's not just woe is me.
And some teams are actually really getting affected by injuries. Like, just look at the Winnipeg Jets. They're outside of it. Well, I think they're tied for a playoff spot.
Then they're in eighth.
But for the majority of the season, they were outside of a playoff spot.
Yeah,
and they've been decimated. Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Pittsburgh goes through injuries every year, but guess who performs?
There's no excuse. No,
Crosby
I agree
will perform,
with you there.
Malcolm will perform, and even when Crosby's out, everyone else performs. So it's getting to that point. No more excuses. This is the Leafs. They're the biggest team in hockey. Everyone knows them.
Yeah.
They have the 4 highest paid players on the team.
So much skill.
Like $40 million invested in 4 players.
Yeah.
So guess what? Now it's time to act like those boys. Right? You're the big boys, so play like it.
Yeah, and it's true. And the sad thing is that because of the weakness of the Atlantic Division, Montreal's making a little bit of a push lately. Adam's a Habs fan. If you guys,
what do you think of Montreal?
I think they got to up their game a little bit. I like that we were talking about the Leafs and how bad they're doing. Now I feel a little bit.
If you look at the standings right now, the Habs are 7 points behind the Leafs, so they're not out. The Leafs lose 3 or 4 games. The Habs win 3 or 4.
Yeah,
they make up those points right away.
By no means do I think the Habs are out, but that said, I feel like they're not a contending team right now. So,
no.
I love my Habs. I love Carey Price. I love all my players, but. They are not made to compete right now. If they ever found a way to sneak into the playoffs, it would be a complete disaster.
The Habs are a team in transition right now, but
that's it.
I think Mark Bergevin, the thing about him, I think he's just he's okay with having a mediocre team.
He is,
which is I feel like every year the Habs are just hovering around a playoff spot, but they don't make it.
And that's the number one.
It's every year they don't make big changes.
That's the number
They're
one.
just okay, we'll be better next year, and then next year rolls around, it's the same mediocrity.
That's the biggest criticism from Habs fans towards the front office.
Yeah.
It's not even the coaches. I mean, when the Habs were on their little downward spiral there for a little bit, no one was. I mean, people obviously do call for the coach's head, Coach Julien's head.
Yeah.
But everyone wanted Bergevin's head on the silver platter over the coach because they're sick and tired of it. It's been too long, and and you're right. It's kind of let's put a product out there because we know people are going to show up.
See, that's literally what I was going to say. It's kind of like the Leafs back in the day where ownership knows that fans are going to keep coming to the games. The belt is going to be sold out, whatever, every time. So they know they have a following. So why not? If the team's not as good and they're hovering around that bubble spot, we'll keep it like that because we know we have people coming to watch the games.
But there is one major difference. Habs fans I'll give it to them, there's a little bit more passion with the Habs as opposed to the Leafs.
No, I agree with that.
You got the suits who are still showing up to the Leafs games to sign their contracts.
Yeah.
But when it's said and done, Habs fans will boycott the team, and they will not show up.
Yeah.
So how long till you boycott the team?
I say it's usually about after you pass a 6 or 7 game losing streak, Habs fans will start to the Bell Center will start to empty a little bit.
Well, they're the 2 biggest markets in hockey. So
agreed.
So if we get back to the Leafs now, because that's the topic of this segment.
It's okay.
I'm getting a little bit off on a tangent, but that's what we do here after the whistle. So right now in the standings, Florida's 5 points behind the Leafs.
Yeah.
So technically, the Leafs are probably in the playoffs. And the scary thing is the Leafs could still be playing mediocre to poor hockey and still make the playoffs depending on what Florida does. And right now it looks like Florida's not doing anything. It looks like, they've ever since the All-Star break, they were the hottest team going into the All-Star break. They had 9 days off, and then since then, I think they have 5 wins in 17 games. So it doesn't look like It just doesn't look like Florida's going to catch the Leafs. So I think they're going to make it. I'd say it's probably 85-90% the Leafs are going to make it.
I would say that's pretty high odds.
You'd say that's pretty high?
I'd say it's 75%.
Okay, well think about it. They win tonight. Florida's playing Boston tonight, so it's a really tough game.
Yeah.
Florida loses tonight. The Leafs beat the lowly LA Kings. They're 7 points up with 14 games left.
But like we've discussed earlier, like the woefulness of the Leafs, we know that they're not going to make things difficult for themselves. So we know there's going to be more pain somewhere along the line. The thing is, we have a decent enough cushion above Florida, but the thing about Florida is they have one of the best goalies in the league, Bobrovsky. Last year he was phenomenal. This year he got paid the big bucks, and it's kind of not really been.
Oh, he's been horrible this year.
I know, but
he has not been the same goalie at all.
But if the Leafs can get into a run of games of winning, right? Florida can do the exact same thing with Bobrovsky. If he starts picking up his game, all of a sudden it's a completely different story. And yes, they traded Voracek as well too.
Okay,
that was more of like a culture.
Well, Vincent Trocheck.
Yeah, Vincent Trocheck. Sorry, I mixed up his name completely.
That's a close name.
Hey, we're getting ready for the spelling later on. But right, they got some good pieces back for him too. Obviously, he was a key part of their team. But you know, they're not bad. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for them to pull off a spot. It's going to be tough for the Leafs to hold on to it. Yeah. But I'm very hopeful that we can do it.
You were talking about Sergei Bobrovsky, so we're getting to the topic of goaltending. Tonight, Frederik Andersen is making the start against the Los Angeles Kings, and they're putting Jack Campbell in tomorrow against the Anaheim Ducks. Would you have done it the other way around, or do you think Sheldon Keefe is doing the right thing by starting Andersen tonight and Campbell tomorrow?
I would have flipped it.
Yeah? You would have flipped it?
I would have flipped it.
The argument is Campbell played with the LA Kings.
Yeah.
So they wanted to start him against his former team, but here's my issue with that.
Yeah.
The players on LA have shot on him during their practices. They know what his weak spots are. So why would you start a goalie against your former team? When the players have an advantage, they know where to shoot.
I find coaches try to make and this goes for all sports. I find coaches will always try to over romanticize a game, and it just always ends up being something where. Where you start a goalie against his old team, or you go out of your way to do something for a player, and then it usually backfires on the team.
Yeah, a lot of the time it backfires.
Yeah, back to your point. If they know his weaknesses, it might not be a fun game or an easy win for the Leafs.
This is a big month for Freddie Andersen because he's ever since, with the exception of probably December. I think he had a very good December. He hasn't been good this season. He hasn't been good at all. He's been below 900 save percentage if you exclude December. And that's not the Freddie Andersen we've come to know over the last 5 years or so.
Yeah, but also for the longest time, too, for the last couple of years, it's been Freddie who's been our savior. He's been the one who's performing.
Well, exactly. So that's the standard that he has to meet every season.
Yes, I know,
this
but
year he's way below.
But he can't withstand that. And the point is that now everyone else has to start picking up the slack. Because for the longest time, it was Freddie picking up the slack for everybody else. So now it's everyone else's turn. They got to pick it up. And just to quickly touch on who should have started what game. It's like the Babcock days. They say that you put your goalie in the game that you have the best chance of winning or the highest odds of winning. And I think that is the Kings game. If you look, they're the worst team, I'm pretty sure, in the West.
Yeah.
So they had probably the best chance to win this game. So you rest Freddie an extra day. Yeah. You start Campbell against the Sharks. Yeah, Campbell doesn't get to play against his team, the Kings, but whatever.
Campbell played well on Tuesday.
Okay.
He played very well.
He actually did play well. I know the score was 5-2, but if it wasn't for him actually being on his game, that score could have been a lot higher.
They probably would have lost 8-2 or something like that, or even worse.
There was a couple bad bounces as well, too, where it's just, it didn't go for the Leafs, but also he made some really good deflection saves in the second period as well, where if it wasn't for him, that game would have been ugly.
No, it could have been much worse, for sure.
Obviously, the Leafs have had a lot of adversity this season, but do you think they're better off overall after all this? If they end up making the playoffs, do you think the Leafs are better off overall after all this adversity?
Well, the old saying is that you can't make a diamond without any pressure. So, it's cheesy. But it's true. Like,
I've never heard that saying, but it does make sense.
You've never heard that saying?
Well, I'm not cultured. Sorry.
That's insane. But yes, the thing is that with this team, it's a young group of players.
Yeah.
So you need to go through these tough times. You need to have your back against the wall because this is where you earn your stripes.
Yeah.
Yes, we have superstars on the team. Austin Matthews is great. Mitch Marner is great. Tavares is great. Nylander, yes, and they have all the skill in the world. But you need to go through these hard times because this is what makes the professionals. So now next year, or even deeper into the playoffs, when you're going through a tough time, you're going through a tough stretch, you have the will and you have the experience to go through it. So this can only make them better.
Well, and if we're going to go into, let's say we go into the playoffs, and right now, if the playoffs started today, the Leafs would be playing the Tampa Bay Lightning. And right now, the Lightning are without Steven Stamkos.
Yeah.
So this is if the Leafs can make the playoffs, this is a huge opportunity to get Tampa Bay in the first round when they're not at their best.
If the Leafs don't pull a Toronto and completely collapse, I still say they get eliminated by Tampa.
The thing with playing Tampa is the Leafs are
100%.
actually a good match for the Lightning. They play the same style, albeit
true.
the Lightning are a little bit better defensively.
Well, I would have said that like 2 weeks ago, but after the trade deadline, they got Bogosian, right?
Yeah.
They got Gaudreau as well, too. They got Coleman. So they added up some beef to that team, which it's kind of funny because last year, the Tampa Bay Lightning were like the Leafs. They had all the skill on the team, very fast, not really a physical team. And then when they came up against Columbus, what happened? Columbus just outworked them, outfought them, right?
Yeah.
Like, not like actual fight them, but you know what I mean. Like,
Well, it's playoff hockey.
Yes, it's
They
playoff
play playoff
hockey.
hockey.
So what did they do
different.
this year? They addressed their weakness from last year. They said, okay, we need some grit on the team. We need
beefed
some
up.
big bodies.
Yeah.
And they did that. The Leafs didn't really do that.
Yeah.
Obviously, Dubas is backing his team.
Yeah.
He said, you know what? This is my team. We're going to sink or swim. So he invested in this team. We have a lot of skill. Now with those players, like it's just an annoying aspect of having to go up against Bogosian, going up against Coleman for 7, like potentially if it goes to 7 games.
Would you rather play the Bruins, who are absolutely destroying the NHL right now, or the Lightning? I'd pick the Lightning. They're a way better match for the Lightning than
Of
the
course,
Bruins.
but
It's a better match, but it's not as cut and dry as it was maybe a month ago.
Yeah, that's
looking at
true.
the team.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's my whole point, is that they're not as light and fluffy as we thought they were. Like if it was 2 months ago and they didn't add anybody and the Leafs are matching up against them, we have a great shot. Even with Stamkos out, it's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
But they still added, which we really didn't.
Yeah. I don't know when how long do you think Kyle Dubas is going to stick to this strategy he's got going, where you're just adding fast, skilled players and not any grit? Like, there's got to be a point where, let's say the Leafs, let's say they make the playoffs, but they're out in the first round again. There's got to be a point where Dubas, kind of puts his pride away and says, look, this is not working. I've got to get some grit in this lineup. Like, I have to make a change, or else it's going to be the same thing every year.
So how I see it is, it's kind of like a defense wins you championships. Like that whole
Well, yeah,
offense wins
it's
the
not
games,
only
defense wins
defense
the
though. Like, the
But
defense
that-
is a huge problem, but they don't have grit. They have no gritty
So
players.
that's my point. So like even aside from defense, there's regular season and there's playoffs.
Yeah.
So once you make it to the playoffs, it takes that level of player or character or grit to take your team to that next level and to really execute and go beyond
Right.
what was done in the regular season. Speed can only get you so far, and it's a lethal weapon in any sport, especially hockey.
Yeah.
But in any sport, speed is lethal, but it only takes you so far if a guy can lay you out flat.
See,
Yeah, you can't just have one skill set.
Exactly.
I think he's obviously going to live and die by it because this is his philosophy and this is Keith's philosophy.
Yeah.
What I agree with to a point is that yes, you need to have some grit on the team, but also you can learn how to play dirty and have grit.
Yeah, of
you
course.
can't learn how to have the talent that the Leafs players have.
No.
So he's banking off of that. Exactly. So you can teach that. Like look what you saw Kapanen a couple weeks like
Yeah,
last.
I was just gonna
Yeah.
say, Scrappin', they call him.
Yeah.
Right, he's fighting. You can teach that with a player. You can teach them how to get an edge, how to be dirty, how to be physical.
Well, another example would be Nazem Kadri. Remember when he first started with the Leafs? He was not a gritty player.
Exactly.
And then he got too gritty and started getting suspended every playoff.
Yes, but what I mean is that so Dubas is going to stick by his philosophy because this is his philosophy.
Yeah.
It's fast, skilled players, and also, like we said, the whole adversity topic.
Yeah. Mhm.
Eventually, your players are going to learn and they're going to develop into the professionals they are. They're going to know how to battle in the playoffs. They're going to have the up and downs. They're going to know.
So here's my question: how long do you give him? Because I feel like it's every year we talk about that, and
That's a tough.
I'm giving him another season. Like if he,
One more
this
year.
season has been a very up and down, and if it ends up being a wash, obviously they're not going to fire Dubas. Like
No,
he's-
they're not.
He's not going to get fired. He's going to get another, if not, next season. He's going to get next season and maybe another couple seasons after that, like to even try and fix things. But time's ticking.
yeah,
Time's ticking. Now that now that the Leafs are where they are.
yeah.
They're expected to succeed. So if Dubas can't put something together, a successful product in the next few years, then the heat's going to be on him. I think it's on him already, to be honest.
It was on him
It's
the
gonna
moment.
get more severe.
Yeah.
more and
It
more
was on him
severe,
the
right?
moment he made that statement of we'll sign them, we'll re-sign them all, and they will be here.
Yeah.
As soon as he made those words about Nylander, Matthews, and Marner, the clock was ticking.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
He put himself in the pressure cooker 100%.
Yeah.
He said, okay, we're going in head first, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, kind of like an Alex Anthopoulos thing in baseball, we're going to sell off everything, see if it works.
They're not going to sell off everything.
Well, no, not to sell off.
A 5-year contract.
You put everything inside.
That's what I mean. Is they spent everything to go in and to do that. If it doesn't work, you look real awful at the end.
You blow $11 million on Tavares, but like we said, pressure makes diamonds. So the Leafs, you have a bunch of diamonds on this team. Add some pressure, and we are going to be beautiful.
One team that is doing it right now is the Toronto Raptors. But lately, they haven't been doing as well. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games. But the Raptors have had a really, really impressive season, and that's something we're going to talk to after the break. But yeah, so the Raptors they're playing Golden State tonight, the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
But we're going to get into that a little bit after the break. We'll get into the Toronto Raptors and the season that they've had, which has been mostly successful up to this point.
Another team that's been really decimated with injuries as well, too.
Yeah, even worse than the Leafs. You can say the Leafs have been decimated by injuries, but the Raptors are even worse. So we're going to talk about that after the break.
Bienvenidos a Conceptos Group of Companies. Tenemos más de 30 años de exitosa experiencia en el área de la construcción industrial, farmacéutica y de alimentos. Pero también forman parte de nosotros Concreto, Excellent Pools, Génesis 360 Radio y Televisión, Expresa Communication and Marketing. Y ahora contamos con la Hacienda Santa Teresa, un restaurante con una exquisita y auténtica comida mexicana ubicado en Bradford, Ontario. Consulte nuestra página web conceptos.ca o contáctenos al 647-809-6218. Conceptos Group of Companies. Construye tus sueños.
Expresa Communication and Marketing.
La Grota, Homemade Ristorante, los invita cordialmente a transportarse a la pequeña Italia en el corazón de Main Street, Unionville, al norte de Toronto, para degustar nuestras deliciosas recetas caseras en nuestro ambiente familiar, acogedor y también atmósfera romántica, junto a una cálida chimenea, y al mismo tiempo invitando a negocios y corporativos a realizar sus reuniones y eventos. Estamos ubicados en el 205 Main Street, Unionville, Markham, para disfrutar en familia o simplemente una caminata romántica con tu media naranja. Promociones, 15% off para reservaciones de mesas familiares de 8 personas o más entre las 12 del día y 3 de la tarde. La Grota, Homemade Ristorante.
Back here on After the Whistle, and now we're going to be talking about the Toronto Raptors. So the Raptors have had a great season up to this point. They're 42-18, but they've struggled since their 108-97 loss to the Milwaukee Bucks last week. Sorry.
Last season?
Yeah. Different story last season. Yeah. So they lost to the Bucks last week, and overall they've lost 3 of their last 4 games. And they were even on Tuesday this week, they were down as much as 17 points to the Phoenix Suns.
Yikes.
So it didn't look good. Thankfully the Raptors, they were able to turn it around. Pascal Siakam picked up the slack and he finished with 33 points, and the Raptors ended up winning that game. But I think the Raptors are just at a point in the season right now, and they're a little thin with injuries. They've been playing so hard all season. I just think they're kind of worn out a little bit, and you're seeing some signs of that, but that could be a bad sign going into the playoffs.
See, kind of like the complete opposite of what we talked about with the Leafs, how making excuses, you can do it. Yeah. This is a pretty legitimate excuse for the Raptors because pretty much all of their starting players have missed some time with injuries.
Yeah.
And also, basketball is a completely different sport where it's a smaller roster, so every player, and especially the great players, make a huge difference.
Yeah.
It's not like hockey where you have a roster legit, 12 forwards, 6 defensemen. Basketball's a lot smaller. There's only 5 people on the court, so when 2 or 3 guys are missing, and then some of your bench players are missing as well too, that's a big chunk of your team.
Yeah.
And just mostly the whole team's been decimated with injuries.
But they've been decimated with injuries all season, and they've been able to still play very well despite the injuries. But recently, it's been a struggle. So I'm just wondering, what's the difference now? Why aren't they playing as well now, even though they've had injuries all season?
Well, I think it's a mix of who's being out. Because now also we've had some injuries to some people coming off the bench too as well.
Yeah.
So it's a mixture of everything. It's that mid-season now. It's February. We're coming into March now, right? Halfway through. So Everyone, maybe the legs are a little bit tired, right?
Yeah.
The injuries are starting to take a toll on them too, and they're just in a little bit of a lull. But a good sign was against Phoenix, come back from 17 down to pull out the win. We're facing Golden State tonight. That literally should be an easy win. Steph Curry is coming back, but he's going to be playing like watched minutes, so it won't be too bad. And it's the first time we're in Golden State
on a side note, if Steph Curry just came back like 2 months earlier, the Warriors would probably make the playoffs.
Maybe.
Like they're so far out of the playoffs right now that Steph Curry, like even if they won 20 games in a row, they still wouldn't make the
Not
playoffs.
even if Klay Thompson played probably one game, it's a completely different team.
Yeah,
I also had something interesting I wanted to pull up. I have my stat here, but
let's do it
right here. That the the Raptors lead the league in wins lost with 10.33. So what that means is due to injuries and players that they had been injured during the season.
Lost? Is that what that means? Okay.
They've lost.
They lead the league in that.
Yes, they lead the league.
Wow.
So 10 games that could have been easily won if we had players not injured.
Yeah, and they're third in the NBA still, which is crazy impressive.
So that's a stat that's kind of good and bad. Like it's how well the Raptors are doing, but it's also like, oh gosh, we could have been.
Yeah.
We could have had a nice 10 wins is a big number.
Well, that's lethal. You go from a top caliber team to a team that's
the
dangerous
difference
overnight.
from being they're in second right now. That's the difference from second and sixth, seventh, right?
Or first.
Well, I think what we were looking at too is that with the current standings right now, if we go into the playoffs, we're probably facing like an Orlando or Brooklyn.
Right.
So that's a pretty easy matchup for the Raptors. Like going back to last year, we started off against Orlando. I believe we won in 5, I think, but it was a short series. So, what the Raptors have to hope for is that they can hold on to their spot. Solidify their spot right now, have an easy matchup, because then it's just more rest for your players.
Yeah. And right now Boston's a half a game behind the Raptors for second. Like it's really close. They might be a game behind, but it's really close nonetheless. So yeah, I agree with you. The Raptors have to hold on to that second seed. They can't fall.
And the thing is too is that now like with the injuries, but also one of the things I've been noticing is that Kyle Lowry, we know what Kyle Lowry is. He's a great player. We love him, but he has his ups and downs. And right now, he's in a little bit of a cold streak.
Well, he's getting up there in age too, right? He's not a young gun.
Yes, I know, but now it's becoming a little bit more worrisome. Like these ebbs and flows are happening more often, and it's just a down right now. The whole team is in a bit of a lull, like we said. It's just one of the things that happens, and we just need to pull together. Nick Nurse knows this group. He knows his team.
He is such a good coach.
He is.
Did you see how the other day he called out OG Anunoby for his play recently, and then he came out there and had his career best game. Yeah. This is what Nick Nurse has been doing for players since he took over. If a player's playing bad, he calls them out, pulls them aside, talks to them, and then they perform. I think that's all you can ask for a coach. He doesn't yell and scream at his players like a maniac, like let's say a John Tortorella or something like that. He tells his players, look, you're not good enough. I need you to be better. And they go out and they prove it to him because they respect him.
I was just about to say, it comes down to respect.
It comes down to respect.
Yeah.
If your players respect you, they're going to want to put on that jersey every night. They're going to want to play for you. And Nick Nurse has done that for all of his players, and they're buying into his system. And you can see it. The Raptors, they have such a tight system, mind you. If you take away if we're not talking about these last 3 games and we just look at the season as a whole, the Raptors have had a very tight system. They have great defense. Every night they bring it. 90% of the nights they bring it.
Yeah.
I can't say every night because they haven't brought it every night. But the majority of the time the Raptors bring it. And you know the product that you're going to get every night. And that's not what we see with the Leafs. It's the complete 360 with the Leafs. We don't... 180, I should say.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to add with the Raptors is we talked about this off air too, is that like you said, they have trust in their coach and they have the respect because last year they got the job done.
Yeah.
The coach came in, instilled a philosophy, and they were able to win. They were able to perform.
Yeah,
so now the players are going to believe him. When he's calling you out on your stuff and he's saying, hey, I need you to be better, the players are going to be like, you know what, maybe he's right. Because you know what, we did it last year. He was right about many things last year, so he's probably right about this too. And he's just, the thing I like about Nurse the most is that he's able to adjust, and he's able to tinker, which is one of the biggest things. It's something that every coach likes to do and wants to do, but it's something that can go wrong. It can go wrong really quickly.
It can.
When you start tinkering too much. But he is able to find that balance of, slotting guys in a little bit more extra time, right? Drawing back on their minutes as well too. And he's just one of the best coaches overall. And
it's insane.
One of the things I was going to say too, going back on the injuries, is that Norman Powell's coming back from injury. He had a great game against Phoenix. He put up some good numbers, and we're going to need him. He's one of those players that's been hit and miss too.
Man, Powell's got such a smooth shot. Have you ever watched his shot? It's just it's like art.
It is, and when he's on his game, he's a great player. He makes a difference. But when he's not on his game, it's a completely different story. The guy is a bum. That could be out there. And when he's not on, it's awful.
What do you think about Patrick McCaw?
But you just like his name.
You just like calling out his name.
But what else? Like what else do you want to say about Patrick McCaw?
He's a good bench player.
Yeah, he's a good bench player, but
but you're talking about tinkering though, like Nick tinkering. So they've had injuries. Like he started Patrick McCaw the other
exactly,
day.
and Hall Jefferson as well too, like Boucher as well. Like everyone's and Terrence Davis Jr. as well too. Like everyone's been able to come in and perform. And right now it's just been a little bit of like, again, I don't want to sound repetitive, but it's just a lull. They're a little bit of a down streak right now because of the injuries, but it's going to come back. Like this team is a defending champions. They know how to perform. They know how to win. And they're just waiting for a couple guys to come back, and we're going to be fine.
Yeah. Well, the Raptors' next 4 games, they're playing the Warriors tonight, then they got the Sacramento Kings, Jazz, and Pistons. The Jazz are a good team, a very good team, but 3 out of those 4 games are very winnable. So this is a big opportunity for the Raptors to get back on track. And a team that's trying to get back on track right now, if we're going to switch gears a little bit, are the Toronto Blue Jays. And I'm going to hand this one off to Adam because he is our baseball expert here on After the Whistle. So the Toronto Blue Jays are in a rebuild right now.
Yes.
But they've got some great players in the system, and there's a good future here for this franchise. Wouldn't you agree, Adam?
Oh, there definitely is. And we saw a piece of it last year with the call-ups of Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who is obviously probably one of the most hyped players in Blue Jays history after Roy Halladay. And then we saw Bo Bichette and Kevin Biggio come up as well. 3 sons of past Hall of Famers. And
good genes.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Even speaking of that, Bichette Sr., Dante was actually at batting practice yesterday with all the players. And that just and again, going back to respect, that just shows you how tight-knit this team is. Someone's dad shows up, and the whole team is out hitting with them. So...
yeah, but I think most people would do. I think that
he's a Hall of Famer, so you're going to respect him anyway. He warrants that respect. But I mean...
Like if your dad came in here too, like everyone's gonna be talking to him. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's just, like I get what you're saying. Like it's just the culture. But if anyone's dad's coming in, of course, if you've played the game at all,
that's true.
The players are showing you that respect.
So what's your take on Hyunjin Ryu?
Oh wow. Okay. I think he's gonna be a huge contributor.
Yeah.
That said, he has never. It's his first time pitching really in the AL East.
Yeah.
Long term, and with most of his games actually going to be played against American League East teams in smaller ballparks. Let's remember he's coming from LA. He played with the Dodgers, where it's a very pitcher-friendly ballpark.
Yeah.
He is now coming to a 5-team league with 5 hitter-friendly ballparks, including his home ballpark, which is actually one of the easiest ballparks in all of Major League Baseball to hit in.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an adjustment. They have I've seen projections that have him at a 3.75 ERA. That's a little aggressive coming from a guy who's had the lowest ERA in the National League for a while, or he's contending with the lowest ERA in the National League for a while. He's second in Cy Young voting last year in the National League as well.
Yeah.
So if he's in at around 3, I think that's good. 3.75 is like you're getting into a good rookie season level. So I think that's a little, for lack of a better term, it's a little mean. Like this guy's really good, and I think that's discrediting him a little bit. That said, he's impressed me so far. I mean, he's commanding his pitches very well. He's locating his fastball down and away, down and in on the right hitters. And his secondary pitches are there. He's known for his cutter. His cutter's cutting. He's doing a good job.
What do you make of the Jays' overall starting pitching rotation?
So I think
staff, I should say.
So I think that's where it's going to actually come down to. So it's not... with baseball, it's not like any sport. You're playing 162 games in the heat of the summer. So it's not necessarily ideal conditions to be exerting yourself at a 100% level on a day in and day out basis. That said, it's going to come down to consistency most importantly, and that goes for everyone.
Yeah.
The entire 26-man roster. But when it comes to starting pitching in particular, the Jays were up there in the top 3, if not first actually, in terms of number of starting pitchers used last season. Now, if they're going to have any hope of even clinching onto a wild card spot, they're going to have to day in and day out produce, and that comes down to their starting pitchers. Now, they've made acquisitions with their starting pitchers, and I feel like that's something you were gonna
Yeah, well, I was
ask me
going to ask
about,
you what do you
but-
think about Vladdy and Bobichette going in because they're
Well, yeah,
two
so-
big name players.
Well, wait,
that everybody's
quickly,
focusing on.
quickly too, before we jump onto that,
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, the starting rotation for the Jays looks pretty promising. It looks pretty good. I think that
course.
the issue is more of the bullpen.
Yeah.
That once we get into the bullpen, it's kind of weak. I don't know what your thoughts are on that too, because I know
Yeah.
like two guys, Gills and Vasquez, are pretty standout.
Giles.
Giles. You know what? I'm going to be awful at the spelling, so the spelling aspect is going to be terrible if I can't even pronounce Giles.
Yeah.
Giles.
But I pronounced Vasquez fine. That
Yeah,
was
well,
fine.
you're lucky the game's it's not enunciation, it's spelling. So
You know what? You know what? Give me soccer names and I'll be fine. But what do you like?
Beat me,
But
yeah.
besides though, if those two go down, the
Yeah.
bullpen is looking really thin.
Yeah.
Maybe they call up Pearson. I don't know. What do you think?
So Pearson, okay. So here's my thing. Pearson is our lights out. He's our number one prospect for the people who don't know baseball too well. Nate Pearson is our number one prospect, and he's a number 8 prospect in all of baseball. He's a starting pitcher who regularly hits 100 miles per hour, up to 104 miles per hour on his fastball. He's got a plus slider, plus curveball, and he's also working on a cutter with Ryu. And that's a pitch that Ryu attributes his Cy Young candidate seasons to. So essentially, the kid's lights out, and he is college age.
Really? How old is he?
He's 23.
22?
Yeah, he's
23.
23. He's 6'6", 245 pounds.
Man, the Jays were
So the guy's a horse, and he's lights out. So by all means, this is a guy who year in and year out is going to be able to get close to 200 innings. And even if he scales back on his fastball at 95, is still probably the most legitimate ace we've had since Roy Halladay, not counting the David Price half season we got out of him.
All right, let's get some predictions in, though.
Oh, here we go.
we're gonna
I'm
do
excited.
some after the whistle predictions. So, the Jays, obviously
Yeah.
they're still a couple years away from being a contending team again. But
Yeah, I'd say look out
there's
to next year.
I think you can say they're going to have a better season this year.
100%.
I would
So,
hope so.
they're going to be much better than last year where they went 67 and 95.
Yeah.
Fourth in a 5-team division. They came out fourth, only above the Baltimore Orioles that are the second worst team in all of baseball last year.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry. What was their record last year? Say that again.
67 and 95.
Yeah.
They were 36 games back of first from the
That's
Yankees.
part of my question. So my question to you guys is
Yeah.
going to be, the Jays will get 80 wins this season. Are you going over or under?
Under.
Under.
I'm going under.
I say they hit consistency in starting pitching considered.
Yeah.
Say they even cut the 20-something pitchers they used
Yeah.
for starters in half. I say they're hovering in around the 75 to 80 mark.
so you're going with the under?
I'm going with under, but up into that, like up into max 80. I don't see them passing
I
80.
think.
Well, you can't take 80. You got to go under 80.
Okay, so I'll go
It's either
under.
you're over or
So I'll go 75 to 79.
See, I'm on the opposite. I think it's going to be more on the 69 to like 72 range.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a slight increase, but nothing too crazy because at the end of the day, yes, we have Vladdy, we have Bo,
Yeah.
we have a good starting pitching, but it's also the team is still very unproven.
Yeah.
So here's my thing. I see that if they're actually doing decently, Ross Atkins is the kind of guy who he's going to then buy at the trade deadline. They missed out on a legitimate center fielder this offseason, and that's because a lot of teams coming into this year are actually considering themselves contenders. All that goes out the window once you get into July. Now, I still even see the Jays, even if they're not competing, they're not going to compete for winning a division. It's
Yeah.
going to be one of the 2 wild card spots. Even if they're not quite there, if Ross Atkins can legitimately sell to the front office that getting a center fielder will actually work, they can go out to a team that essentially is doing garbage and try to buy low and bring a legitimate player over.
Well, they do have a bigger chance though this year because Boston is not as strong. They got rid of Mookie Betts, right? So
even getting
they're
rid
not
of
as big
Mookie
of a
Betts,
threat this season, and they're kind of. Would you say they're going through a rebuild right now?
so Boston is not going through a rebuild. They're going through
Retooling.
They're going
Well,
through a
that's a
salary
rebuild. Come on,
cut.
that's a
no,
rebuild.
they're going through a salary cut.
Okay, that's it.
It's
Like, that's
the
just
first
it?
time that they've in the past maybe 5 years or so they're under the luxury tax threshold,
Right.
which in baseball is mean. It does not have a salary cap, but for every few $1 million you go over, they raise a tax on
Yeah.
you. So essentially, Boston was paying probably in and around an extra $50 to $75 million extra a year that they didn't need to pay.
Wow.
On top of the salary and everything else that they were already paying.
I have a hot take.
Go for it.
So like you said, Atkins, he's the type of guy that will add.
Yeah.
Do the Jays bring back Jose Bautista
No.
In the bullpen.
No way.
No, you don't
No.
in a million years.
No?
He's 39 years
He's
old?
39 years old.
wants to be a
For
pitcher
those who
now?
don't know, he's working with he's in the Dominican right now, training with the team, and he's switching to being a pitcher. And
How can you
apparently
switch
he's
to be a
got,
pitcher at 39 years old?
apparently he's got some stuff.
So okay, he can max out in and around low
95.
low 90s, absolute maxing out at 95. He's 39 years old. He
That's not
has been eaten a lot. He's plagued by the injury bug. The injury
Yeah.
bug isn't a mosquito at this point; it's the plague. And you can't beat age. You can't beat the
Yeah,
clock.
age
And
is-
he is out. But there's another Blue
Father
Jays
Time
player.
doesn't-
There is
doesn't
another
agree.
Blue Jays player who with the Cleveland Indians who is pitching.
Encarnacion?
Anthony Gose. Do we remember him?
Yeah, Anthony.
No.
Yeah,
Anthony
Gose?
Gose is the guy we traded 1-for-1 for Devin Travis
Wow.
to the Detroit Tigers. Cleveland ended up getting him. He's an outfielder, amazing speed, but can never figure out the bat.
Yeah.
He is now a left-handed pitcher with a nasty slider.
Wait.
Pitched a shutout inning in so far.
Wait,
I think he's
wasn't-
been shut out so far in spring training altogether.
Correct me if I'm wrong. But
Yeah.
Wasn't there a game where he went in as with the Jays? Remember I think it was him.
I think he might have actually.
He went in and he relieved because the bullpen was depleted. They had nobody else, and I'm pretty sure he went in.
It was one of those write-off games. You're right. I think he
Yeah.
went in and pitched an inning.
Yeah.
Or like spark plugged it a little bit, but he is now a full-time pitcher.
Okay, so what the Jays are going to do is they're going to sign back Bautista, get going,
No, they're
and
not.
we're going to be going. It was right there. It was right
And I
there.
hope the Jays
I had
do
to
get
do
going
Ghost, not
again
Ghost.
because it was so much
Oh,
fun when the
Ghost,
Jays...
man. I'm thinking of Ryan. Why did I think of Ryan Goins?
It's okay.
I hope they do get going again because it was so much fun when they were a good team. You
It's
know,
just a
It
pun.
really is. It really is.
going
yeah.
to the park when they were a good team was just...
Yeah.
There was so much more atmosphere that is, all, unfortunately not there now.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. We hope the Jays have a better season, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. So after the break, we're going to get into some in case you missed it news from around the sports world. So we're NHL, NBA, soccer, we got it all. So stay tuned.
Bienvenidos a Conceptos Group of Companies. Tenemos más de 30 años de exitosa experiencia en el área de la construcción industrial, farmacéutica y de alimentos. Pero también forman parte de nosotros Concreto, Excellent Pools, Génesis 360 Radio y Televisión, Expresa Communication and Marketing. Y ahora contamos con la Hacienda Santa Teresa, un restaurante con una exquisita y auténtica comida mexicana ubicado en Bradford, Ontario. Consulte nuestra página web conceptos.ca o contáctenos al 647-809-6218. Conceptos Group of Companies. Construye tus sueños.
Expresa Communication and Marketing.
La Grota Homemade Restaurante los invita cordialmente a transportarse a la pequeña Italia en el corazón de Main Street, Unionville, al norte de Toronto, para degustar nuestras deliciosas recetas caseras en nuestro ambiente familiar, acogedor y también atmósfera romántica, junto a una cálida chimenea, y al mismo tiempo invitando a negocios y corporativos a realizar sus reuniones y eventos. Estamos ubicados en el 205 Main Street, Unionville, Markham, para disfrutar en familia o simplemente una caminata romántica con tu media naranja. Promociones, 15% off para reservaciones de mesas familiares de 8 personas o más entre las 12 del día y 3 de la tarde. La Grota Homemade Restaurante.
Welcome back to After the Whistle. So now we're going to get into some in case you missed it news around the sports world. So first of all, we're going to talk about Alex Ovechkin, the Great Eight, 703 career goals. I think he's sitting 8th all time in NHL goal scoring now, and Gretzky's had 894, so he's 100 and what would that make him away from Gretzky?
My math isn't good.
So he needs like 190 goals. That's roughly 190
If we're
goals.
wrong about that, we're sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, 190. Let's just say 190 goals to roughly to catch Wayne Gretzky's record, to beat Wayne Gretzky's record, which is 894 goals. Ovechkin's 34 years old. He just scored a 700th goal this season, and honestly, it doesn't look like this guy's slowing down. It looks like he's getting better.
Yeah,
he's on pace for 60 goals again this year. And this guy just whips it around like there's no tomorrow, and he's been doing that his whole career. So my question is to you guys: do you think it's realistic that he's going to break Wayne Gretzky's record? And if he is, when is he going to do it?
I say yes, he is going to break the record, and I think he's going to do it within. If he average, okay, this is all based off if he averages the 60 goal, if he can average 60 goals.
Yeah.
I believe it, within 3 years, I would say it's logical that he's going to do that.
I don't know about 60, but if he averages 50, so that'll give him 150, then he just needs to play one more season and get 40 goals.
So let's put over under 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm saying 100% he's going to get it, because this guy, he's not going to be 40 years old and be 40 goals off from tying Gretzky and just retire.
No,
there's no way.
He's the kind of player. He'll
there's
play,
no way. Why
he'll
would you
play
retire?
until he's 50-something to get
well, no,
that.
he's not going to have to do that.
No, he won't. But that's the kind of guy he is.
He scores 10 goals every season.
The thing is that like what Adam was saying is that he has his cup, so all he has to do now is get the record.
Yeah.
So he's going to be holding out. He's going to be legit 42 Tom Brady.
Yeah.
He's going to be on the power play, just wiring the one timer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's keep in mind, right? I mean, listen, he's not Gordie Howe, but Gordie Howe played until he was 52. Yeah. So if Ovechkin really pushes it, he doesn't get overly hurt or, doesn't get completely decapitated or something.
52.
No, he won't.
No way.
He won't. He won't.
He's
but
not younger.
even if he goes to, what is he, 34 right now?
34. He's got lots of time.
Even if he goes to 42.
Yeah. And also, let's not forget he's Russian, so those Russians are made differently. He's got the vodka diet.
Oh my God!
So he's fine. He's
the vodka diet.
Vodka diet. He is, what happened to Moscow stays in Moscow.
Hot take on the.
So since we're talking about Alex Ovechkin, we also got to mention the Rocket Richard race, which is heating up right now. You've got Austin Matthews with 46 goals, David Pasternak 47 goals. The Bruins are playing tonight, so he might have scored already. If you guys know, comments on our live stream.
Let us know.
Let us know if Pasternak has scored, because as of right now, we know he has 47 goals, so he's leading. And then we've got, I think behind Matthews is Alex Ovechkin with 45 goals. So this race is really heating up. So what do you guys think this race is going? Who's going to finish at the top of this
Honestly,
season?
I would hope that it's Matthews, but I think realistically it's going to be Pasternak. Because his line is probably I would say his is the best line in hockey. He's got Bergeron.
It is.
He's also got Marchand. Like, they're feeding him the puck. They know what to do.
Yeah.
And he's just a machine. Like, 47 goals isn't. I know Matthews has 46, but Pasternak just has the supporting cast that sets him up well. And
Matthews has Marner.
Yeah, Matthews has but Matthews has Marner. But when things aren't going well, Pasternak's the type of player that he can just make a chance out of nothing.
Yeah.
Same with Matthews, but I think overall his team has that little bit more juice, so they're going to feed him the puck more.
Yeah.
Pasternak's winning the Rocket.
I hope Matthews wins.
Even building on off your point, Francesco, is Matthews is a guy who's a threat to score when he gets a puck.
Yeah.
Hands down, he's a threat to score, and every night. Pasternak is a threat to score multiple times a night.
Yeah.
Like he's dangerous every time, and like you just said, he can make some ridiculous chance out of nothing, and all of a sudden, before you know it, the red light's on, he's got a goal.
Exactly.
I say Pasternak. I say Pasternak takes it.
Yep, I'm taking Dave.
I'm taking Austin Matthews. I think he's going to get it done.
Boo.
I'm a homer, but
Boo.
I think Matthews is going to do it. He's the last 4 or 5 games. Matthews he hasn't been scoring at his normal pace.
Yeah.
But I think over the next 15 games, there's going to be a couple games where he just goes on a heater and he scores 3 goals. 2 goals, 1 goal, and then he makes up a huge ground there. And another thing is, if Matthews hits 55, he's the all-time franchise leading goal scorer. So that's another race he's chasing.
I was looking the other day, and apparently, after not the game against San Jose, but the game before that, Matthews hit the post in that game. And apparently he leads the league in post hit with 12.
Yeah, it's crazy. Imagine if he scored those.
He has the record. That's insane.
100%.
That's like leading the league in hit by pitches.
He'd be ahead by 12 goals. Yeah, but then again, you think about how many posts has Pasternak hit, how many posts has Alex Ovechkin hit.
Yeah, if you're counting that.
Those aren't shots on goals, apparently.
Yeah.
No, they're not.
Which is weird.
The shot on goal is one of the
goals has to make.
The crossbar in the post is part of the goal. I've always debated this. That's a shot on goal.
Well, it's like a lot of people who think the foul line in baseball shouldn't be part of play.
Okay,
Anyway, we're going to go off topic, but
talking about NHL rules, this is a perfect segue into the next thing. So I don't know if you guys saw the Kari Lehtonen's skate slashing Zach Boychuk's neck area. That was it was a really scary play, and it could have been a lot worse than it was.
Yeah.
So saying that, do you think the NHL should step in and make it more mandatory for players to wear like neck guards to prevent that from happening? Because over the last 10 years, that's happened more than one time. You had Richard Zednik, you had a couple other players. I mean, even Ilya Mikheyev recently, he got his a laceration on his wrist. So
see, the thing is that should they do it? Yes. Will they do it? No. That's the thing. Like,
not right now, but maybe in the future.
But no, if the NHL wants to protect its players, and they've done a lot of things to protect the players, changing the rules, right? Really cracking down on hits to the head as well too. But I don't think this is one of those things that they're going to really push for, because to be honest, it's a fluke when it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
And when it happens, everyone just talks about it for a week or whatever, and then everyone just dies down because it's that rare. Mm-hmm. Yes, right. Mikheyev had it this year. Now he had it too, Boychuk. But it's one of those things where it doesn't really happen. And it's so hard to get the players to do these type of things. Like, look how long it took them to change the type of helmets that they're wearing too.
Yeah.
Like half of these players have grown up a certain way. They've used to certain equipment.
They're not going to change.
Exactly. They're not going to change. And they're going to run the risk.
Yeah.
Like, look how long it took them to even have them wear helmets during warm-up.
And visors too.
And visors too. Like, people still don't do it.
Even baseball, you have the armored pitchers' hats. Well, for pitchers, because all the linebackers coming back at their head. The line drives back at their head. No one's using them.
Yeah.
So,
it's going to take some time, but I think in the future you'll see a future where like neck guards are mandatory. And
I don't think so,
because it's a life or death situation. We're not talking just like a minor injury.
It is.
If your jugular gets cut by a skate, and these skates are getting sharper and sharper too.
That's
I was
true,
listening onto
actually.
the radio, and they made a good point. One of the hosts made a good point saying that a lot of players now during intermissions, they go and they sharpen their skates. So their skates are always razor sharp. Yeah. And it's just like, you've got blades on your feet. You've got knives on your feet, essentially. Yeah. Right? And it's super dangerous, especially because the game's getting faster too. Yeah. High-speed collisions and stuff, like they could get really bad.
I agree.
They just need one like really bad situation, knock on wood it doesn't happen, where some guy dies because of this.
I agree with you, but I don't think it happens.
No, like I said, I think what I said at the start pretty much sums it up. Should they? Yes. Will they? No.
Yeah.
It's going to take like 5 of these to happen, maybe in a season, for them to really push it.
I'm going to go out and say it. It's going to take someone to die to do it.
Yeah. That's what I just
Someone's
said.
going to have to get sliced right across the jugular, and then it's going to be...
Yeah.
Speaking of dying,
coronavirus
in sports.
Yeah. Okay,
right?
let's quickly bring this one up.
I know that was a rough transition.
That's a good first episode topic. Speaking of dying.
But, in Europe, especially with the soccer leagues, right, especially in the Serie A in Italy, they're banning people from coming to the stadiums. They're playing the games behind closed doors. And I know it's all the way in Europe, but this is something that I know that the MLB and the NHL have been discussing, because if it keeps getting worse and it keeps progressing, this is something that you have to take note of. So I was wondering, what do you guys make of banning fans from the stadiums?
It's something that has to be done, especially in Italy, because the outbreak is so bad there.
Yeah, it's true.
There's been so many new cases reported, and more are coming every day. So in Italy, I think it's more acceptable in Italy because of all the cases that have happened. But if it gets worse here, then you could see NHL games being fans being banned from coming to the arena until the virus is gone. But that would be crazy. Imagine the Leafs playing with no fans.
Yeah.
Like, how would you get yourself up to play that game as a player?
Well,
You're used to the roar of the crowd.
I keep going back to
energy.
baseball, but Chicago had a game like that.
Well, the Blue Jays last season, they had like 3,000 people in the stands.
Well, okay, but there have been
nobody.
games in years where people weren't allowed in because of protests that were happening in the city, and it's weird to watch because no one's there.
Yeah.
It's dead quiet.
See, I like it, like especially with soccer, because that was the sport I grew up playing. So when you're playing it, you're used to there not being you're used to hearing the yelling and hearing people commentate. So when I watch it, it takes a while to get used to, but also just reminds me of like, oh, these guys are players too. Like, you just hear everyone calling the game.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty interesting. But I think in order to stop the outbreak and in order to really hammer down on this will happen. Like, they're potentially, if it keeps getting worse, they're going to they might cancel Euro 2020, and probably the Olympics as well too in Tokyo.
Well, they've already said they're not going to do it. The chair of the Olympic Committee in Tokyo said there's no way they're canceling the Olympics.
Well, that's just a
Well,
tire
it'll be
fire.
interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
All right.
But anyways, we gotta move on.
Well, I want to
a little
quickly
bit.
shout out too. It's in case you missed it. I was watching it before I got here. A music video. Katy Perry's pregnant.
What?
Yeah, Katy Perry got pregnant. I know this is in case you missed it. I know it's not really sports, but I saw it that she got pregnant. So congratulations to her, and hopefully congratulations to me because I want to win this competition.
I thought you were gonna say because I want to get pregnant.
I was like, congratulations.
Well, I don't know. We'll see where the night goes, but let's see how I feel after this competition.
All right, so let's get on to our competition. Actually, so this is the first annual After the Whistle spelling bee. So I'm gonna read out 5 very hard names to spell, players' last names. Yeah, so it's best of 5. So whoever gets to 3 right first wins.
All right.
So let's just start right in. Okay, Francesco, do you want a basketball player, a baseball player, or a hockey player?
I'm gonna do hockey.
Hockey?
Oh, God.
Darius Kasperitis.
You need the whole name?
Just the last name.
If I spell the first name, do I get partial marks?
No, Kasperitis. You have to spell the last name. Kasperitis.
Okay, go.
Kasperitis. Can you use it in a sentence?
No.
Darius Kasperitis
Scored. Spell the word.
scored a goal.
Kasperitis. Okay. K-A-S-P-I-R.
Yes. Wrong. Out.
Get out.
Francesco,
watch
0.
It be ER. Watch
All
it
right,
be
Adam.
Do you have baseball players?
I have 1 baseball player.
Okay, I'll take a baseball player. I'm not going to
Okay. Oh, so there's no steal. So okay.
No, I'm not stealing Casper.
Okay,
I just
okay.
know I would have never picked that. I could have
okay.
never
Well,
done
actually,
that.
You know what? Okay, let's go. Okay, so baseball player, Max Scherzer. Scherzer.
Oh, Max Scherzer?
Yeah. Scherzer.
Scherzzer.
Okay.
Okay,
he's got it.
Oh wow. Okay.
1-0. All right.
there you go.
I'm just gonna give you another one. I'm not gonna ask you which.
Oh, thanks. Okay.
I'll give you the
love these
easier
games.
one. Okay, it's
This is
1-0
great.
Adam right now. Casimir Kaskasuo.
What?
Okay. Wait.
Don't wait to see what's coming up for you.
K-A-S.
Yes.
K-I-S-U-O.
Yeah. Yes, you got it.
What?
Let's
1-1.
go.
Oh, God.
Next up is Adam.
Oh, no.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I knew you were going to ask you that one. I had him on my
Antetokounmpo,
sheet
go.
last time when we were practicing. Antetokounmpo. What?
Wait, you know what?
Wow.
No. It's 1-1 right now. So let's do
a
like
winner
this.
take all right here?
Winner take all.
Okay.
Antetokounmpo. Okay, both of you try to spell it because we're running out of time.
It's
here,
your question, so you go first.
Okay. A-N-T.
Yeah. Nope.
What?
Wrong. Okay. Okay. Can it be closest? Because we're
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
A-N-K.
No, there's no K in Antetokounmpo.
What?
Oh wow. We're okay. One more shot because we have.
All right, one more shot.
Go.
Can you say his name one more time?
Antetokounmpo.
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 A-N-A.
No, not A.
What?
A.
It sounded like you added one in there. I don't know.
Say it one more.
Antetokounmpo. Antetokounmpo.
So you should have said it another 27 times. I would have got it.
I honestly, I'm A-N.
Yeah. Antetokounmpo.
E. Okay. E.
You already beat me apparently because you got the third letter.
A-N-E, you're on track.
A-E-T.
Yes.
Oh, I know
E.
it now.
Yes?
Now I got it.
N.
Oh, damn.
No!
I was.
No! You were so close. Okay. Well,
Well, I
this
guess you
can't
got
end.
it.
Okay, let's do it. I'll see if we have time for one more. Mika Zabinajad.
Go for it. I
Zabanajad,
took
that's how it's
Antetokounmpo.
pronounced.
Go for it.
Z.
Yep. Zabanajad.
J.
No.
I thought it was a
Zabanajad.
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 Z. A.
No.
Z-B.
No. What? Okay, I'm just gonna spell
Is it Z-I?
Zibbanejad. So we're gonna end this in a tie, and we're gonna finish it on the next show.
No,
okay?
one rock paper scissors really quickly.
Rock
Who
paper
wins?
scissors. Adam and
Best out of three?
Francesco.
Yeah,
go.
and shoot?
No.
On shoot.
Okay.
All right, we gotta wrap up.
Rock,
here, guys.
Paper, scissors, shoot.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Right, so Francesco was our winner of the day, even though he didn't win it by
Yeah,
spelling.
this is what university pays for.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, guys, for joining us on the first episode of After the Whistle. We hope you had a good time tuning in with us. We had a good time talking about all the sports you want to hear. And on next week's show, we're going to do much of the same. There's going to be a lot more to talk about with the Leafs. Hopefully, the Raptors are back on a winning streak. And spring training is going to be coming to a close in the next few weeks. So the Jays are going to get back in action, and that's going to give us a whole new set of things to talk about. So thanks for joining us on After the Whistle on Genesis 360. You can catch us on Thursdays from 8 to 9 p.m. So make sure you tune in, tell your friends, everybody, and we'll see you next week on Genesis 360.